Here's more wrestling news for December 28th, 2022. And we're starting off with NXT, as this week's show saw North American champion Wes Lee in action, defending his title against Tony D'Angelo. This was an exciting match that had the fans in the arena captivated, but fans online were talking about a different wrestler. During the match, the hashtag Justice for Nash Carter trended on Twitter, referencing Lee's MSK tag partner, who was released earlier this year. While WWE reportedly did not find the allegations of abuse by his now ex Kimber Lee to be credible, the decision was made when Lee shared an image of Nash parodying Adolf Hitler. Many fans disagree with WWE releasing Nash and want to see him return, though the allegations against him could cause serious backlash. Ultimately, it'll be Triple H who makes the decision whether Nash gets a job back, but the fans are making their views clear on social media. In June, Gunther captured the Intercontinental Championship from Ricochet just 2 months after his debut on the main roster in April. Since then, the Austrian has kept an iron grip on the title, defending against Ricochet, Rey Mysterio, and his wars with Sheamus, and he's now passed a major milestone. As of yesterday, Gunther reached 200 days as Intercontinental Champion, a feat only a few wrestlers ever reached during a single reign. Gunther's Clash at the Castle match with Sheamus received 5 stars by Dave Meltzer, his 5th WWE match to do so, and his first as part of the main roster. As Intercontinental Champion, Gunther has brought a level of prestige back to the iconic title, and the Imperium leader has no plans to lose the gold anytime soon. Over to AEW now, as Tony Khan has faced plenty of criticism during his time in wrestling and hasn't always handled it well. Khan has in the past clapped back at fans on Twitter in responses that have come across as petty, but that's only because some of their criticism may be fake criticism. Speaking to Grapsity this week, Khan gave an example of such fake criticism, saying that when someone questions if an AEW show has any storylines, something that Khan believes is obviously the case each week. Khan also hit out at fans who argue that a match shouldn't happen because there's no build, and pointed out that feuds need to have a starting point, and that a match with no build can be the start of something big. AEW has a loyal following of supporters, but the company also has plenty of detractors, but no matter what, Tony Khan is going to be running his company exactly how he chooses. Recently, Booker T said that Jade Cargill has WWE written all over her, and if she were to join, she'd likely have a feud with Charlotte Flair. Fans haven't seen the Queen since her loss to Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania Backlash, and during a recent interview, Cargill expressed her desire to face Flair. Now, Flair has reacted to Cargill's career so far, tweeting that the TBS champion is also a queen who should keep killing it, and use the hashtag undefeated. Cargill is yet to be pinned or submitted since arriving in AEW, and while there's no sign of a crossover anytime soon, we imagine that Charlotte would love to be the one to break this impressive streak. If you've followed the career of John Bradshaw Layfield, you'll know that the WWE Hall of Famer has a reputation out of the ring as a bully. In 2008, during the trip overseas for tribute to the troops, JBL decided to target Joey Styles, but the ECW announcer stood up for himself, punching Bradshaw and giving him a black eye. This is one of unfortunately very few instances of someone standing up to JBL, and during the latest Cafe de Rene podcast, ex-WWE superstar Rene Dupree said that JBL reportedly changed after the encounter. I wasn't there, but from what I heard, he would just sit in a corner on his laptop, wouldn't talk to nobody. Yeah, he got fucking embarrassed like a motherfucker. Jesus. When I heard that story, I felt like, wow, you got put in your place, you know? While JBL would be embarrassed, he would return to his hazing ways years later, and his harassment of Mauro Ranallo would lead to the popular commentator leaving WWE. During his Hall of Fame speech, Bradshaw teased apologizing for his bullying, only to say that he has nothing to say sorry for, but he may not have such a cavalier attitude the next time he shares a room with Joey Styles. If you listen to either 83 Weeks or To Be the Man, you'll know that Ric Flair and Eric Bischoff aren't exactly pals. Bischoff once infamously claimed during a WCW meeting that Flair was never a draw and that he'd take pleasure in running him out of wrestling, something that of course didn't happen. Now, over 2 decades later, the pair are still at odds, and during an interview with Chris Van Vliet, Bischoff spoke about an incident between them from an episode of Raw. I don't know what year it was. I'd been in WWE for a couple of years. While I was in the WWE, the week before the incident I'm about to tell you, I showed up to Monday Night Raw. We do TV, and Rick is there and Arn Anderson is there. We go out for a beer after the show. Rick says, "Eric, come on. We'll go to the hotel bar. Join us." So boom, went out to the bar and had a great time, just like old times, right? The following week, I showed up to Monday Night Raw, and I'm sitting in what they call the TV office. It was like a prop office in case they needed it, but I always used it for a dressing room because nobody else used it. I had the whole place to myself with a couch and a chair. So I'm in there and I'm talking to my wife on the phone. It was my wife and my real estate attorney. We were closing on a piece of property. So I'm on a three-way conference call with my attorney and my wife. I'm sitting in a chair, Rick comes walking into the TV office, Arn is behind him, and Jonathan Coachman is behind him. I'm talking on the phone. Okay, cool, it wasn't my office, it was everybody's office. I just happened to use it. While I'm on the phone, Rick comes over and just starts yelling and screaming at me. You get up out of your chair. I'm talking on the phone and he just starts firing shots at me. He's throwing punches at me, connected with me 3 times while I'm on the phone. Here's the deal, Ric Flair has been throwing working punches for so long, I don't think he knows how to throw a real punch. I'm not saying that to be funny or try to be a tough guy, because I'm not. But he hit me 3 times and I still had the phone in my hand. For a minute I thought, is this a work? Is there a camera? Am I in a scene that nobody told me about? Then his lip started bleeding after he hit me for the 3rd time. He was so mad that he bit his own lip and started bleeding all over himself, and I wouldn't fight him. Many people, including Kurt Angle, believe Flair and Bischoff should just get over their differences and let bygones be bygones, but even with Bischoff in his 60s and Flair in his 70s, it's doubtful we'll ever see the two make amends. Since becoming head of talent relations in July, one of Triple H's biggest moves has been rehiring released WWE superstars who were cut in recent years by his father-in-law. Karrion Kross, Bray Wyatt, Dakota Kai, and Johnny Gargano are just some of the names to be brought back, but the game has a method to his many returns. That's according to Baron Corbin, who, when speaking on the Johnny Dare Morning Show, said that Triple H doesn't want to waste any talent, especially those who have been rehired. He added, "The show's got new energy, new life, and for me being on Monday nights, I'm still adjusting and being on the new schedule. Getting into the roster and digging into who we can work with and who we want to beat up and who has the most punchable face besides me. It's fun, it's nice, we're not rushing anything. That's one thing I love about Triple H. He's a firm believer in it's a marathon, not a sprint. He likes to slow play things, and he doesn't just waste people. If you don't have something that's a big-time play or move on television, he's like, then you don't need to be there because it's not good to just be out there. You want to have a purpose every time you go on television. It's still a lot of things for me to get used to where he's like, hey, stay at home with your family this weekend, enjoy the weekend. He's a guy that really wants his talent and the families to be happy." Speaking about Vince McMahon, Corbin also praised his former boss and acknowledged his different style to Triple H. Vince McMahon is the same as, well, but his mentality is go, go, go. That's how he is, he's incredible. He works out at 3 a.m., he's a machine and expects everyone else around him to be a machine. Everybody in WWE is capable of that, but it's nice to step back. I just took a cruise and was on a boat for 7 days. While there have been reports that Triple H has been unimpressed by some returns so far, it hasn't been stated who. But it's clear that the game doesn't want any talent to go to waste after promising them something better than working for Vince McMahon. On January 1st, Shinsuke Nakamura will face the Great Muta at Pro Wrestling Noah in an incredibly rare example of a WWE superstar working for another company. Given the legendary status of Muta, this match is a huge honor for the King of Strong Style, but one that was impossible earlier this year. Sitting down with Yahoo Sports, Nakamura discussed the match and said that Vince McMahon initially declined his request to face the Great Muta. "I was like, no way, I couldn't believe it. I didn't think it would happen. It was something that would have never happened under the previous structure of the WWE. Noah came to me with the idea and we discussed it, but my answer was no. Vince McMahon stepped down in the summer and I was advised by people within the company that it might be possible now. I still thought it would be difficult, but I even talked directly to Triple H. When the decision was actually made, I was shaken. There was a big change in the WWE between when Muta announced his retirement and when the match was decided. Vince, who was the symbol of everything, was retiring, and that was something that no one could believe. Everything changes in America when the top changes. At that time, there was a feeling that many things would change in the future. One of the changes that occurred to me was this. The fact that no became yes gave me a boost." Triple H has made a lot of popular moves so far, and allowing WWE talent to wrestle elsewhere has proven to be one of them. and it remains to be seen how this will affect possible future deals with other promotions in the years to come. In 2003, Goldberg debuted for WWE after an impressive run in the now defunct WCW and debuted by interrupting The Rock on the post-WrestleMania 19 Raw. What followed was a match at that year's Backlash that Goldberg would win, but the Brahma Bull was not entirely interested in the bout. During an episode of his Something to Wrestle With podcast, Bruce Pritchard discussed The Rock having reservations about the Goldberg match once he saw another WCW alum in action. I think it was 3 weeks into this, Rock, who begged us to bring Goldberg in, comes to us and says, "Hey, I've got an idea. I've been watching the little guy with the mask, Rey Mysterio. Is that his name? Holy shit, man, we could tear it up. How about we just slide Rey into the match? I do something with Rey. That'd be a great fucking match." What do we do with Goldberg, Rock? I don't know, but me and Rey could have a hell of a match. So 2 weeks in, Rock was bailing on him and just like going, "Oh man, I'm just terrified of this match." While The Rock was eager for the Mysterio match, he was overruled and a singles bout pitting the Great One against the Ultimate Underdog sadly would never happen. On the independent scene, few names are gaining momentum faster than Billie Starkz, who has proven to be a hit with fans in various promotions. Now, the self-professed Space Jesus has arrived in AEW and made her debut on last night's episode of AEW Dark. Unfortunately for Starkz, she got close to no offense in her match with Red Velvet, so while this debut didn't go great for her, merely competing for AEW could be a sign of bigger things to come for Space Jesus. And we're ending today with Zelina Vega, who aligned herself with Legado del Fantasma earlier this year and appears with the group on SmackDown. It's no secret that Vega is an avid cosplayer and loves dressing up in various costumes, so it should come as no surprise that she donned a new look for WWE's Madison Square Garden event. Flaunting a red ring gear with a matching jacket and a gold headpiece, the show didn't go well for Vega, as Legado del Fantasma lost to Hit Row, but at least she looked good in defeat.